Turkey says U.S. sanctions will not impact helicopter deal with Pakistan Ankara, Istanbul. Turkey's top defense industry official said on Tuesday any U.S. sanctions against Ankara would not affect the country's several existing projects, including a helicopter deal with Pakistan, but could impact other deals with Islamabad such as Pakistan Atak helicopter and Hurjet aircraft projects. Ismail Demir, the head of Turkey's Defense Industries Presidency (SSB), said that despite new U.S. sanctions, the defense industry would continue to move forward. "We expect this sanctions not to affect our relationships too much," told reporters after speaking to Parliament. The U.S. on Monday imposed sanctions on Turkey over its purchase of the Russian S-400 missile defense system. The sanctions, coming under the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act (CAATSA), target the SSB, including Demir and 3 other officials. Starting on January 20th, the incoming U.S. President Joe Biden administration may also bring changes in policy, positive or negative, and the U.S. sanctions could also trigger sanctions from the EU, Demir said. Speaking a day after the U.S. announcement, the SSB chief underlined that the sanctions should not affect existing projects, such as the T-70 helicopter, but added that the Pakistan Atak helicopter and Hurjet aircraft projects would probably be affected. The sanctions will slow down Turkish defense projects related to the U.S. for a short period, but the Turkish defense industry would take advantage of this process and manage to take over production of all critical parts in the long term, he stressed. The development of the domestic industry will continue, perhaps even faster. In a sense, this sanctions will serve as a flare and a warning, he said, underlining Turkey's nearly 70-year NATO membership and Ankara's relations with fellow members and the U.S. in several areas. In April 2017, when its protracted efforts to buy an air defense system from the U.S. proved fruitless, Turkey signed a contract with Russia to acquire the S-400 Shield. The U.S. opposed their deployment, claiming they would expose next-generation F-35 jets to possible Russian subterfuge. Anadolu agency The issue here was that Turkey purchased and deployed a Russian air defense system despite sanctions placed on Russia, but India has yet to be sanctioned for its purchases of the S-400. Nor has Greece, another NATO member, for its purchase and deployment of the S-300. Furthermore, the S-300V4, which the Greeks have shown an indication they'll upgrade to meaning future purchases, is an advanced system incomparable to the S-400, aka S-300PMU-3. NATO member U.S. refused to meet its obligation of the NATO treaty and supply a fellow NATO member Turkey the air defense systems that were critical to their nation's security, and Trump confirmed this had been ongoing since Obama. "I agree with Irfan, he is not going to remove sanctions immediately and he won't remove them completely. At most he'll go as far as Obama did. Biden is very pro-Israel, I would say even more than Obama is, but he's also a lot more practical than Obama was. I'm also concerned about an Iran with nuclear weapons, but I personally don't think Iran even wants them because they, like many other nations, aren't capable of using them as credible deterrents. In fact, I'd say very few nations outside of Pakistan, India, China and the US are. When you use nukes, you're risking the deaths of maybe tens of millions of your own people, and a nation like Iran doesn't have the freshwater resources, the arable land, myriad of mineral deposits, nor population to survive nuclear counterstrikes. The only way a less populated state could field nukes is to deploy a lot of nukes like the Russians did, so even against a larger aggressor it promises complete eradication of the other civilization. Biden isn't pro-Pakistan either, like people might think. He's just more practical than Obama was. I think we can negotiate with him on a withdrawal from Afghanistan alongside their re-entry into the JCPOA without any preconditions in exchange for removing threats of sanctions on the Iran-Pakistan pipeline and negotiate a barter trade deal with Iran for oil and gas. We could also assist them in their rapprochement of Turkey, which would be hugely beneficial for the both of us. The JCPOA that Obama negotiated, considering Obama is a close friend of Biden, isn't something he's likely to alter and would be very open to going back to the original 2015 agreement. The authors basically blame Erdogan for the whole mess. He thought he could use to his will, that he could have his cake and eat it too. Don't expect the problem to get better with Biden. Erdogan didn't have good relations with Obama, and I doubt it will be any better under Biden. In short, you are right. Don't read my post any further. What is done is done. Sadly, the time can't be reversed no matter how much I rant and try to see Pakistani anguish into Turkish predicament. Wish them well and hail their honorable and steadfast leadership's resolve. I know deep inside that the cost was way too dear. Turkey shut itself from the access to world's finest technology of all times. Some will point towards Turkish very own TFX program. It's very ambitious and advanced compared to Pakistani AZM, but imagine the amount of components and subsystems Turkey expects to source from the West and the potential barriers from Americans. Unless Turkey builds everything from nut and bolt to the final product in-house. I don't know if you recall President Trump criticizing Obama administration for its reluctance to sell Patriot systems to Turkey. He even justified Turkish decision, but that were just words. He delayed the ban until last days of his presidency, and this is now. I don't know if the Turkish leadership crawls on a broken glass to the American feet and grabs them and begs them to forgive them. Dismantles their S-400 system to be allowed back in their fold, but nothing short might do. We can wait 3 years for a new helicopter. Sticking with ATAK in the long term will bear fruit for the Turks. Nothing is changing materially for PA in a couple of years. If they're desperate to get some helicopters, feel free to buy more Hinds, which are in service and token numbers already to augment the Cobras. U.S. sanctions will actually hasten the engine development efforts in Turkey, because prior to that they could still use the U.S. engines for domestic ATAK helos, just not granted an export license. Now, in order to meet their own requirements, they will be forced to get their own solution ready that much sooner. I say we bite the bullet and wait for Turks to do their thing. And if people are really feeling the lack of new attack helicopters besides what I stated above, Hinds get aggressive and proactive diplomacy going to get the Zulus delivered.